Here we go. Welcome back, you guys, to our final edition of Marilyn Monroe with Faust Goes to the Movies. Me, Jim Faust, and Tom Carmody.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. And we're going to talk about Marilyn as to basically what was going on the last couple of years of her life.
And I'll start it with August 5th, 1962. LAPD Police Sergeant Jack Clemens received a call at 4:25 a.m. from Dr. Ralph Greason, her psychiatrist, proclaiming that she has been found dead in her home in Brentwood.
In Brentwood, in the 6th Helena Drive. And there have been so many misconceptions and misconstrued everything about what happened when she died. Her affairs with the Kennedys, her possible affairs with the Kennedys, her attitude the last year of her life, that she was dead in the water and that she couldn't perform anymore, and all of that was nonsense. Which is, I still think, the definitive biography of hers for anybody that wants to read about Marilyn Monroe's Donald Spato's book, which he does not rely on supposition or fantasy or gossip. It's just the facts of what was going on the last 6 months of her life. And the other thing too, which is a really interesting thing, is they've done a reconstruction, actually a 20-minute reconstruction of the footage that remained of Something's Got to Give. And that is in the Diamond collection of DVDs of Marilyn Monroe. It's really interesting to see that when everybody said how horrible she looked and she couldn't work and all this. She was working with sinusitis, with fevers, and because that whole summer she was sick. And they wouldn't allow her to be sick because they were losing millions of dollars a day in Rome filming Cleopatra with Elizabeth Taylor. And basically what Marilyn Monroe was scheduled to do was to buck up the system and make money for them in lieu of this debacle of Cleopatra. And she was having none of that. So that was basically what the business thing that was going on during that. At the time of her death, Something's Got to Give was scheduled to go back into production 2 weeks after she died with a new contract, with all of the stars of that movie, Dean Martin, Sid Charisse, all of them on board to start up production again. My own personal thing is that Marilyn Monroe's death was accidental. In those days, it was very common to administer sedatives through enemas, and her colon was a mess during the autopsy. And it was a high colonic enema that was administered of chloral hydrate, and it killed her. And it was administered by Eunice Murray, her housekeeper. She was not a nurse. She was under the tutelage. They always had somebody there with her because her insomnia was so bad. And her habits were so, you know, what we talked about earlier. She was a very difficult person. And so there was always somebody there to take care of her. And unfortunately, I don't think she was taken care of very well. And that's what happened. I think that the affairs with the Kennedys and all of that, if there were any such affairs, may have contributed to her relationship with Peter Lawford. Who knows? They all partied together in Santa Monica at Lawford's house. I mean, that was the party house. That's where she met all of these people. That's where she partied with all of these people. So who knows what went on? She never said anything. The rest of them never said anything. So it's all supposition.
It wasn't also true, though, that one of the last people she saw the day of her death was Robert Kennedy?
Yeah, but that's even clouded in somewhat of a mystery. There's been talk of that. Several authors have talked about that. Barbara Leeming, Fred Lawrence Giles in his book, Norma Jean. But Donald Spato, once again, because there isn't any hardcore evidence for any of that, he was the one that sort of debunked a lot of that and said, well, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't, because nobody really knows. Nobody really knows what went on that last day, except for a few spotty phone records of calls to the White House and whatnot. There are those things that happen, but nobody has ever been able to say for sure that there was a homicide, that there wasn't a homicide. And that's why, to my way of thinking, the drug culture, which was just starting up in Southern California in those years, where everybody was popping downers and people were doing acid You know, there was all of this kind of thing going on that's never really been talked about, and I'm sure that all that contributes to it too. So
Yeah.
who knows how she died? Who knows?
Well, one of the, again, of always the one of the best film clips of and politics together was on May 19th, 1962, where
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Where it was Madison Square Garden. I read somewhere that the dress she wore was specially designed, made for her by Jean Lewis, sold at auction
Yeah.
for $1.26 million.
And she was sewn into it. She couldn't have sat down if she would have wanted to. Yeah, that was an amazing. I think in a way that was an amazing send-off for her, because I think she kind of did it all in that performance. She was kind of the whole deal, and which is probably why she's remained an icon and eternally young.
At 36 years old.
At 36 years old.
Wonderful. Well, Mr. Faust, thank you very much. I think it's been a fascinating series that we hope that everyone enjoyed, you know, insight in Marilyn Monroe. And
I hope you guys enjoyed my take on it. It's a little bit different than everybody else's, but that's kind of what Tom and I are here for. So,
all right, we'll be back soon.
We'll be back soon. Thanks a lot.
Bye.